Come, sit down. This one is loud. This story isn't quiet or gentle or subtle. This story is about a man who refused to be silenced. A man who had nothing, no sight, no money, no status, no dignity, and the only thing he had left was his voice. And he used it. He screamed. And when they told him to shut up, he screamed louder. And God stopped walking. Blind Bartimaeus, what do you want me to do for you? Jericho. An ancient city. One of the oldest cities in the world. Sitting in the Jordan Valley, below sea level, surrounded by desert and dust and the bleached bones of empires that had risen and fallen for thousands of years. A city of palm trees and heat and roads that connected Jerusalem to everything east. And on the outskirts of Jericho, beside the main road, in the dirt, in the dust, in the place where people passed but never stopped, there sat a man. Bartimaeus. His name means son of Timaeus. And the fact that Mark records his name, his actual name, is remarkable. Most of the people Jesus healed are anonymous. The leper. The bleeding woman. The paralytic. The widow's son. Nameless. But this man has a name. And the reason, I believe, is because Bartimaeus became known in the early church. He became someone. He became a follower. His story was told so many times that his name was preserved. But before the story, before the miracle, before the name meant anything, he was just a blind beggar on the side of the road. Let me tell you what that life looked like. Blindness in the first century was a prison with no walls. There was no braille. No guide dogs. No accessibility laws. No disability payments. No social services. No white canes. No support systems of any kind. If you were blind, you were dependent. Completely, utterly, helplessly dependent on the mercy of others. And mercy, in that world, was an unreliable resource. Bartimaeus couldn't work. What job could he do? He couldn't farm, he couldn't see the rows. He couldn't fish, he couldn't see the nets. He couldn't build, he couldn't see the stones. He couldn't herd, he couldn't see the sheep. Every occupation required sight, and sight was the one thing he didn't have. So he begged. Every morning, if you could call it morning, because for him there was no morning, no afternoon, no evening, just one continuous darkness, he would make his way to the roadside. Maybe someone led him there. Maybe he had memorized the steps from whatever corner he slept in. 43 steps to the left, turn right at the wall, 17 more steps, sit down. The same spot every day. His spot. The patch of dirt that was his office, his workplace, his entire economic existence. And he would sit. And he would call out. Alms. Alms for the blind. Have mercy. Have mercy on a blind man. Hour after hour. In the heat. In the dust. Flies crawling on his face, and he couldn't see them to swat them away. He could only feel them. On his eyes, his lips, the sores on his skin, he could feel them and wave his hand vaguely, and they would lift for a moment and return. People walked past. Thousands of people, every day, on this busy road. And most of them didn't even glance at him. He was furniture. He was part of the landscape. As unremarkable as the rocks beside the road. A blind beggar, there were many of them. You couldn't stop for all of them. You couldn't feel guilty about all of them. So you looked away. You walked faster. You let the crowd carry you past. Some dropped coins. A few. Enough to buy bread sometimes. Not always. The sound of a coin hitting the ground near his cup, that small clink, was the sound of survival. He learned to know the coins by sound. The heavy thud of a bronze lepton, almost worthless. The lighter ring of a silver denarius, rare, precious, enough for a day's food. But most people gave nothing. And some gave worse than nothing. Children threw stones at him sometimes. Not to hurt, just to see what would happen. Would the blind man flinch? Could he tell where the stone came from? It was entertainment. A game. The way bored children pull wings off flies. Young men mocked him, kicking dust in his direction, moving his cup when he wasn't paying attention so he would reach for it and grasp air, laughing when he stumbled. The casual cruelty of people who have never known helplessness. And the religious people, the scribes, the Pharisees, the righteous ones, they had a theology for his blindness. They believed that disability was punishment for sin. Either his sin or his parents' sin. Blindness wasn't bad luck or genetics or an accident of birth. It was divine judgment. God had struck him blind because someone, somewhere, deserved it. So when they walked past Bartimaeus, they didn't just see a blind man. They saw a sinner. A cursed man. Someone God himself had rejected. And their pity, if they felt any, was poisoned by judgment. What did he do? They whispered. What did his father do? He must have done something terrible. Imagine living with that. Not only are you blind, not only are you poor, not only are you dependent on the scraps of strangers, but the dominant religious framework of your entire culture tells you that you deserve it. That God did this to you on purpose. That your darkness is a punishment. How do you pray after hearing that? How do you talk to a God who supposedly blinded you? How do you have faith in a Father who, according to everyone around you, chose to take your eyes? Bartimaeus sat in that darkness for years. We don't know how many. We don't know if he was born blind or lost his sight later. If he was born blind, he had never seen a face. Never seen a sunset. Never seen his mother's smile or his father's hands. Never seen the color blue or the color red or the way light plays on water. His entire universe was sound and touch and smell and taste and darkness. Unending, impenetrable, absolute darkness. If he lost his sight later, that might have been worse, because then he had memories. He knew what he was missing. He could remember faces, colors, light. And every day those memories would fade a little more, like paintings left in the rain, until he wasn't sure anymore if he was remembering reality or imagining it. Either way, he sat in the dark. And he begged. And the days blurred together into one long, featureless stretch of survival. But Bartimaeus had ears. And ears, in a world of darkness, become everything. When you can't see, you listen with your entire body. You hear things sighted people miss. The tone of a voice, not just the words, but the emotion underneath. The rhythm of footsteps, heavy or light, hurried or leisurely, confident or afraid. The rustle of fabric, cheap wool or fine linen. The way the air changes when a large group is moving. And Bartimaeus had been listening for years to every conversation, every rumor, every whisper that passed by his spot on the road. He had heard about Jesus. Of course he had. Everyone had. The stories were everywhere. A man from Nazareth. A healer. A teacher. Someone who spoke with authority, who challenged the Pharisees, who ate with sinners, who touched lepers, who forgave the unforgivable. But one detail would have stood out to Bartimaeus above all others: he healed the blind. He gave sight to people who had never seen. He opened eyes that had been sealed shut from birth. He took darkness and replaced it with light. And Bartimaeus heard something else too. Something that the theologians were debating, something the crowds were whispering, something that was too dangerous to say out loud but too powerful to keep quiet: this Jesus might be the Messiah. The son of David. The promised one. The king that the prophets had spoken about for centuries, the one who would come from David's line and restore Israel and set everything right. The son of David. Bartimaeus chewed on this. In his darkness, with nothing to do but think, he turned it over and over. The prophets had said that when the Messiah came, the blind would see. Isaiah 35, then will the eyes of the blind be opened. Isaiah 42, to open eyes that are blind, to free captives from prison and to release from the dungeon those who sit in darkness. Those who sit in darkness. That was him. Literally. Sitting in darkness. On the side of a road. waiting. And he began to believe. Not casually. Not as an intellectual exercise. He began to believe the way a drowning man believes in air, desperately, totally, with every cell of his being. This Jesus was the Son of David. This Jesus could heal him. This Jesus was his one chance. If only Jesus would come to Jericho. If only Jesus would pass by his spot on the road. If only. And then one day, the road changed. Bartimaeus felt it before he heard it. The ground vibrated differently. The air shifted. A murmur in the distance, not the usual traffic noise, but something larger. A crowd. A massive crowd. Hundreds of footsteps. Hundreds of voices, getting closer. His heart began to pound. What's happening, he asked. Maybe he grabbed at someone's ankle. Maybe he called out to a passing stranger. What's going on, who's coming? And someone, probably annoyed, probably trying to shake him off, said, Jesus of Nazareth is passing by. Jesus of Nazareth is passing by. 5 words. 5 words that ignited 12 years of hope like a match dropped in gasoline. He is here. He is actually here. Right now. On this road. My road. The road where I have sat for years waiting for something, anything, to change. And he is here. This was it. This was the moment. There might never be another one. Jesus would pass through Jericho once. Maybe only once. And Bartimaeus was sitting on the side of the road, blind, invisible, one voice among hundreds. And he made a choice. He opened his mouth and he screamed. Not called out. Not spoke up. Not politely requested attention. He screamed. Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me. At the top of his lungs. With everything he had. Every ounce of air in his body, every fiber of his being, every year of darkness and suffering and loneliness and hunger compressed into one earth-shattering cry. Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me. Son of David. Do you hear what he's saying? He's not calling Jesus teacher. He's not calling him sir. He's calling him Son of David. The Messiah. The King. The One. In front of everyone. In a crowd that included Pharisees and scribes and people who considered that title blasphemous. The blind beggar, the man that theology said was cursed by God, was making the most radical theological declaration anyone in that crowd had ever heard. He was saying, I know who you are. You are the promised one. You are the King. And I am calling on you. The crowd reacted immediately. Shut up. Be quiet. Stop shouting. People around him, probably the people closest to him, the ones who could hear him over the general noise, turned on him. Sternly. Harshly. Be quiet. Why did they try to silence him? Because he was embarrassing. A blind beggar screaming at a rabbi, it was unseemly. It was inappropriate. It was beneath the dignity of the occasion. Jesus was an important man now. He was on his way to Jerusalem. He had business to attend to. He didn't have time for beggars. Because he was dangerous. Calling someone Son of David was a political act. It was a revolutionary claim. If the Romans heard someone hailing a king of the Jews, there would be consequences. For everyone. Because he was nobody. In the social hierarchy, a blind beggar was at the absolute bottom. Below women. Below children. Below Gentiles. He had no right to demand anything from anyone, let alone a famous teacher with a following of thousands. Be quiet. Stop it. You're making a scene. The voices around him were angry. Hands pushed at him. People tried to physically silence him. They probably shoved him back down when he tried to stand. They probably blocked his path. They formed a wall of disapproval between this dirty, blind, shouting man and the dignified procession passing by. And Bartimaeus, Bartimaeus screamed louder, "Son of David, have mercy on me." He didn't care. He didn't care about propriety. He didn't care about embarrassment. He didn't care about the social hierarchy or the political implications or the anger of the crowd. He had been sitting in darkness for years. Years. And the one man who could change that was walking past right now, and there was a crowd of comfortable, sighted people trying to keep him quiet because his desperation was inconvenient. No. He would not be quiet. He would not sit down. He would not wait his turn. He would not be polite about it. He screamed. Louder than the crowd. Louder than the rebukes. Louder than the hands pushing him back. Louder than the shame. Louder than the theology that said he was cursed. Louder than the years of silence. Louder than the darkness itself. "Son of David, have mercy on me." And Jesus stopped. In the middle of a crowd of thousands. On his way to Jerusalem. On his way to the cross, actually, though no one in the crowd knew that. With the weight of the world on his shoulders. With a destiny that would change human history waiting for him at the end of this road. Jesus stopped. For a blind beggar. For a nobody that everybody was trying to shut up. He stopped. And he said, "Call him. Call him. Bring him to me. The man you were trying to silence, I want to hear him. The man you were trying to push away, bring him close. The man you said was nobody, he's the reason I stopped." The crowd's tone changed instantly. The same people who had been saying shut up were now saying cheer up. On your feet. He's calling you. Isn't that something? The same crowd. The same people. One moment they're trying to silence him, the next they're encouraging him. All because Jesus showed interest. That's how crowds work, they take their cues from power. When power ignores the broken, the crowd ignores the broken. When power sees the broken, suddenly the crowd sees them too. But Bartimaeus didn't need their encouragement. Mark records a detail here that is small but absolutely beautiful. Throwing his cloak aside, he jumped to his feet and came to Jesus. Throwing his cloak aside. That cloak was everything Bartimaeus owned. For a beggar, the cloak was bed, blanket, shelter, and container for the day's coins. It was his most valuable, his only valuable possession. If he lost it, he had nothing. Literally nothing. He threw it aside. He didn't fold it. Didn't hand it to someone. Didn't set it down carefully. Threw it. Because in that moment, the cloak didn't matter. Nothing mattered except getting to Jesus. He was so focused, so single-minded, so desperate that material possessions, even his only material possession, meant nothing. And he jumped. A blind man. In a crowd, with no idea where the obstacles were, where the people were, where the ground was uneven. He jumped to his feet and moved toward the voice. The voice that had said call him. The voice that had stopped the parade for a beggar. Someone must have guided him. Maybe hands that had been pushing him away were now guiding him forward. He stumbled through the crowd, toward the place where Jesus stood. People parted. The noise faded. And suddenly he was standing in front of him. Bartimaeus. Dirty. Blind. Barefoot. His face turned upward toward a man he couldn't see, his sightless eyes aimed in the general direction of a voice he had only heard from a distance until now. And now that voice, up close, warm, personal, directed specifically at him, asked a question. What do you want me to do for you? Stop. Stop here. Because this question is extraordinary. Isn't it obvious what the blind man wants? He's blind. He wants to see. It's the most obvious thing in the world. Jesus could have simply healed him. Could have touched his eyes without asking. Could have said be healed and moved on. But he asked, what do you want me to do for you? Why? Because Jesus gave him something no one had ever given him before, a voice. For years, people had spoken about Bartimaeus. Spoken around him, spoken over him. They had decided what he needed, what he deserved, what his blindness meant. The theologians decided he was cursed. The crowd decided he was a nuisance. The social system decided he was worthless. No one asked him what he wanted. No one treated him as a person with desires, with agency, with the right to speak for himself. And Jesus, God incarnate, the most powerful being in the universe, stood before this blind beggar and said, "Tell me what you want. I'm listening. Your voice matters. Your desire matters. You matter. What do you want me to do for you?" This is the question of a servant, not a king. This is the question of someone who has come not to be served but to serve. This is God kneeling before a beggar and saying, "Command me." Bartimaeus answered. And his answer was the simplest, most heartbreaking sentence in the Bible, "Rabbi, I want to see. I want to see." 4 words. Everything. His entire life, his entire suffering, his entire hope compressed into 4 words. I want to see my mother's face before she dies. I want to see the sunset everyone talks about. I want to see the road I've been sitting beside for years. I want to see the stars. I want to see bread before I eat it. I want to see the coins in my cup. I want to see the children who throw stones at me. I want to see the people who walk past me every day. I want to see the sky. I want to see you. I want to see the face of the man who stopped for me. I want to see the eyes that looked at me when no one else would. I want to see the Son of David. I want to see my King. I want to see. And Jesus said, "Go. Your faith has healed you." Your faith, that screaming, desperate, crowd-defying, cloak-throwing, reputation-ignoring faith. That refusal to be quiet. That insistence on being heard. That was faith. And it healed you. And immediately, Mark says, immediately he received his sight. Light. For the first time, or for the first time in years, light. Not gradual. Not blurry, then clear. Immediate. Total. Complete. Imagine. Imagine what that first second of sight was like. After years of darkness, absolute, total, unbroken darkness, suddenly, light. Color. Shape. Form. Depth. Movement. The world exploding into existence like creation itself. Like the moment God said, "Let there be light," and light erupted from nothing. What did he see first? Jesus. The first thing Bartimaeus ever saw, or the first thing he saw after years of blindness, was the face of Jesus. And what a thing to see first. What a face to be your first sight. The face of the man who stopped for you. The face of the man who asked what you wanted. The face of God who became human and stood on a dusty road in Jericho and gave a blind beggar his eyes back. Was Jesus smiling? I think so. I think he was smiling. That quiet, warm, "There you are" smile. The smile of someone who has just watched a prison door swing open. And Bartimaeus saw it. He saw the smile. He saw the eyes. He saw the face. And then he saw everything else. The crowd. The sky. The road. The dust particles floating in the sunlight. The sunlight. He could see sunlight. The colors of people's clothing. The brown of the dirt. The green of the palm trees. The blue, the impossible, heartbreaking, glorious blue of the sky. He could see. Bartimaeus could see. And here's what Bartimaeus did next. This is important. This is the detail that separates this story from every other healing story. Jesus said, "Go. Go your way. You're healed. You're free. Go live your life. Go see the world. Go find your family. Go." But Bartimaeus didn't go. Mark says, he followed Jesus along the road. He didn't go home. He didn't run to find his family. He didn't go to the temple. He didn't even go back for his cloak. He followed Jesus. The road Jesus was on led to Jerusalem. and Jerusalem meant the cross. Bartimaeus didn't know that yet. But he followed anyway. Because the first face he saw was Jesus's face, and he decided in that instant that wherever that face went, he would go too. The blind man who couldn't follow anyone because he couldn't see where they were going now followed Jesus. With open eyes. With clear sight. With every step a miracle. He followed him down the road. Through the crowd. Toward Jerusalem. Toward whatever came next. Because when you've been in the dark your whole life and someone gives you light, you don't walk away from them. You follow them forever. And here's what this story teaches me. The whole world told Bartimaeus to be quiet. The whole world told him his voice didn't matter. The whole world told him to sit down, shut up, accept his lot, and stop bothering the important people. And Bartimaeus screamed louder. And Jesus stopped. Not because of Bartimaeus' theology. Not because of his good behavior. Not because of his social standing. Not because he said the right words in the right order with the right amount of reverence. Because he refused to be silent. Because he was desperate enough to be undignified. Because he wanted it badly enough to embarrass himself, to defy the crowd, to throw away his only possession, to risk everything on one scream. And that raw, messy, undignified, desperate, screaming faith was enough. More than enough. It was the kind of faith that stops God in his tracks. So here's my question for you tonight. What are you sitting beside the road waiting for? What darkness have you accepted as permanent? What have you been told is your lot in life, your punishment, your destiny, your normal? And who is telling you to be quiet about it? Who is saying don't make a scene? Who is saying accept it? Who is saying you're not important enough to be heard? Ignore them. Open your mouth. Scream if you have to. Because Jesus is walking past. Right now. On your road. And he will stop. He will stop for you. He will turn and he will ask, what do you want me to do for you? And when he asks, don't be polite. Don't be modest. Don't ask for half of what you need. Tell him everything. I want to see. And you will. The fire burns low. But somewhere on a road in Jericho, a man is seeing color for the first time. He's looking at the sky with tears streaming down his new eyes. And he's following a man down a road that leads to Jerusalem. He doesn't know what's coming. But he can see. And that's enough. Next, the woman at the well. Shall I continue?